I had a conversation with a godlike alien being. Their species was essentially on their way out from this universe, transcending to a higher level of existence. We talked about life, philosophy, existence, and many other things. To the disappointment of my colleagues back at the Verne Observatory, the entity refused to share any technology. After I got back, they named the species Avasarala. Honestly, it felt weird to have this species named after me. Now from the beginning, I was on a return voyage from sampling the planetary organism on Vanus de Morris when I lost control of my ship. All the screens went haywire and then I saw nothing but black outside the ship. Then, everything turned back on and I heard a very calming voice say, "Don't be afraid." I looked outside and saw the Avasarala. It had a defined shape, but it kept morphing. I think it could ultimately take any shape it wanted. It looked like it was close to 20 meters in height and had a light ring moving around it constantly. Its skin was black and moving inside itself like water. Something about it made me instantly feel at ease. I could tell it meant no harm in the same way you can tell a child means no harm when they come to show you something they found. I asked how come it speaks English and it said that we are one of many species they have been studying. Language to them is something that they instantly master. It told me that we can also have this conversation telepathically and instantly answer all of my questions through experience rather than words. However, it would overwhelm me, so we just talked instead. It told me that it is only one of several thousand left in this universe. They spend several millions of years wandering around sharing knowledge. This particular entity was the only one in the Milky Way galaxy. I have to admit, I felt quite privileged to think that I am the first human to meet such a creature. I told it that I am nervous to bear this responsibility. It knew how to calm me instantly. "You'll do great, that's why I chose you," it said. I took a deep breath and started with the beginning. What are the Avasarala? It told me that they originate from one of the 36 galaxies in the local group that we are also a part of. They reached our level of development around 82 million years ago. Funny to think that they had their own version of the internet and memes while the dinosaurs roamed the earth. Their history isn't that much different from ours. Wars, famine, senseless destruction, all of those things. From all of the data that we gathered at the observatory, this is par for the course for all intelligent species. Adversity and hardship force adaptation and innovation, which in turn catalyzes progress. It seems as natural as gravity itself. The Avasarala discovered the steam engine much faster than us, and they did so in a relatively stable empire. This allowed for steam engines to become a reality during the equivalent of our Renaissance age. Imagine what Da Vinci would have come up with had he used engines. In short, they industrialized earlier and better. Not only that, when they started developing their vehicles, they went the opposite path from us. Whereas humanity moved towards petrol-based cars all because of a late appointment, they developed electrical vehicles from the start. And yes, they still had global warming. They industrialized earlier than us and with less pollution. All of this made it so that their process of industrialization took a lot more time to be adopted everywhere. Which in turn meant that their world was reliant on fossil burning for longer than us. By the time they realized the consequences to their planet, moving to reusable energy sources was a process that took much longer than on Earth. It also caused a lot more societal upheaval due to how sudden it was. Compared to them, our transition from fossil fuels seems quite prudent. They also had world wars. 3 of them actually. And while we see how far they have come, the third one really pushed them back a lot. You see, they did indeed split the atom like we did and had the same ideas as us for both energy and military use. They built nukes but never used them. However, their planet had 2 moons, one of which had an atmosphere. This made them more space-oriented than us. Colonizing both of their moons was not only a question of ambition, it was also very commercially viable. As a consequence, their space program was more aggressively developed. With economic and civilian development, it seems that inevitably comes military application. Rival nations covered the atmosphere with mass destruction satellites. Similar to how humanity put tungsten rods in orbit in the late 2040s, so did they. Tungsten and titanium rod from God. And in their third major conflict, they used them. All of the destruction with none of the fallout from a nuclear exchange. 14% of their population was gone within a few hours. 53% gone within months. Yet, they eventually rebuilt from the apocalypse. And here is one entity, standing in the void in front of me. By all definitions a demigod, coming from a race that flirted with extinction. I wanted to go further in my discussion with the Avasarala and wanted to see their take on the meaning of life itself. They have asked themselves the same questions, over and over. Like us, they were looking for answers from before the moment they discovered fire. Why are we here? What reason is there for sentience? Why is there pain? Why can't there just be happiness? By advancing technologically as much as they did, philosophy became science and religions became research doctrines. The universe seems to be coming to life in order to experience itself. The very elements that forged the stars over 13 billion years ago are waking up through us. Every time we feel something, we are the universe coming to know itself. It sounds like old pseudoscience, but the way the Avasarala described it made more sense. Life is ultimately experience. Our next topic blew my mind completely. When I asked what comes after life, it acted as if it knew we would be comforted. As it would appear, there is a common phenomena throughout all intelligent life. Technology advances to such a degree that with the simplest information, or better yet DNA, it is possible to bring anybody back. That is what most do, bring back a digital instance of everybody in history. They can either live in a simulated world identical to reality, or be placed in a body. The moral implications to revive certain individuals are a different topic altogether. This Avasarala told me that it used to repair small river boats in an age equivalent to our 8th century. It lived in a mountainous climate next to a landlocked sea and had a simple life. It had 2 children and closed its eyes at an old age. It then woke up, apparently tens of thousands of years into the future. It lived and could interact with its family on a level that is very hard to explain. Then, the Avasarala made a monumental discovery about the nature of the universe. They learned how to move between planes of existence. But for that, they need to go somewhere where physics isn't limited like it is here. No maximum light speed, no maximum heating point. This reminded me of the research that the Karanti species were conducting. As most of the Avasarala decided to leave, some stayed back and wanted to go share some calmness throughout the infinite darkness. It told me that it feels this was its purpose in life all along. It said, I built boats to make others' voyages easier. I still want to make others' voyages easier. In the end, not much has changed for me. I just don't build boats anymore. Just imagine that. Becoming godlike to the point of creating the afterlife. By this point, I gave up on trying to gather information on their tech. I just wanted to ask what we can do better as a species. It said we show a lot of promise. We are inquisitive and eager to discover. We are also more peaceful than others. However, it said we should act more on some aspects. We are extremely self-centered, arrogant and impulsive. It's tragic how many intelligent species end up destroying themselves. We can do much better. At this point, the Avasarala thanked me for the talk. I asked for more time and it said, don't worry. I am sure you and I will meet again in a very different place. I was overwhelmed with emotions and the reality of what I just experienced. Before I could say anything, I blinked and my ship was back in orbit around Earth. For the Verne Observatory, this was researcher Rebecca Avasarala.